Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, heard Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on PSA.com and the PSA Facebook page. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by PSA, the National Sports Collectors Convention, and Sports Collectors Daily. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all of your hobby news, features, and more, visit sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now, your host, Tom Zappala.
Welcome, everybody. You know, this is a new opening because Rico is not here today. He's playing in a golf tournament, as usual. And Mallory is pots on. I think he's on assignment. I don't know what the hell he's doing. So I asked our good friend Paul Borges from PB Collectibles, your neighborhood car store, to come in and jump in. He drove up from Newport, Rhode Island. Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a real pleasure to be here.
How you doing?
I'm good. Things are good,
Things are well.
School is out, so it's time to concentrate on sports cards. And,
good for you.
So, all good.
We have a great show today. We're going to bring in a second, we're going to bring in our good friends, the Whismans, Chuck and, again, you're going to see what they look like, and then you make the decision. But Chuck and Stacey are going to be with us from Wheatland Auctions.
Excellent.
They've got an auction going on right now. Paul is in studio with us, and later on we're going to bring in Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services. You got to have insurance, man. You got to have insurance. But first, our headlines. This one's special to us. Ted Williams Hall of Fame ring brings $444,000 to top the Heritage Auction. The ring presented to Ted Williams upon his induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1966 sold for $444,000 Friday night, topping the thousands of items sold over 3 days by Heritage Auction. It was included with it was the original Balfour box with his handwritten inscription, Hall of Fame ring. It last sold for $95,000 in 2012 during an auction of Williams memorabilia held at Fenway. Williams gave a short speech on his induction day, including his hope that the Hall would one day honor players from the Negro Leagues, something that did eventually come to fruition. Williams famously told Bob Costas during a 1990s interview that his early advocacy of Negro Leaguers ranked among his proudest moments in baseball. A tip of the cap to Ted, $444,000 for his ring. Wow. For more information, you can go to sportscollectorsdaily.com. Our good friend Rich Miller and the gang at Sports Collectors Daily do a magnificent job.
Fantastic job.
Really. All right, let's bring in our guest, Chuck and Stace. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
So you guys look. Is this the new CNN studios that you guys are in?
This is actually our location. So we are here today at Wheatland Auctions. We have the store set up so that the auction house sits kind of towards the back of our location, and then our retail location is at the front. So
looks fantastic.
Looks great.
Really does.
Well, listen, you guys have an auction going on right now that ends Sunday night. I went, I kind of perused through your auction site. You guys, man, you've got some amazing idols. The thing that stuck out and grabbed me was this 1953 complete top set. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then I'm going to let you run with what you have.
Yeah, actually, there's probably more sets and mostly complete sets in this auction than any we've ever done. And the 53 is just a beautiful set. Very clean, good corners. Looks very new. But there's a 53 Bowman. There's many other sets from the 50s through the 60s.
Jump in, Paul. By the way,
is the 53 top set? Is it a raw set that came in? Is it graded?
It was raw, and we got some of the keys graded. The Mickey Mantle is being sold separate, but right before the rest of the set, and just some really clean cards overall. And we take lots of high resolution scans so people can really get a good sense of the quality and condition.
Paul and I were talking before the show started. You guys, you're one of the smaller auction houses, but you always have just a tremendous inventory that goes through your auctions. How do you accumulate your inventory? Is it people walking in off the streets? Is a lot of it repeat business? I mean, because you guys, some of the stuff that you guys auction off is phenomenal. How do you accumulate it?
I think, a little bit of everything. I think we try to make sure that people know in our local community and beyond that we're here to help. I think we always try and make sure that we're providing good value and really honest service. And I think that is part of what has carried us to where we're at.
We're in a good region of the country too. I really think a lot of the baseball history in the Pennsylvania, New York, northern New Jersey region, just a lot of history of baseball, great teams, great collections, and we help a lot of families out. A lot of the things that you see are many families, and probably being an auction house that has one of the largest sports card stores associated with it. We really are a combination of two businesses that we opened on the same day years ago, sports card store and Wheatland Auction Services together. We help customers every day, and we even grade cards every day for customers.
Good for you guys. It's so funny. We were just talking about it. You know how difficult it is to find good material, to put out in month after month and so forth, or auction after auction. Still, this quality stuff is still coming in. It's a tribute to you guys, so great job.
Chuck and Stace, I want to ask you, you mentioned that some of the items in the auction is a special Kobe collection that you guys are auctioning off. Why don't you tell our viewers and listeners what the backstory is?
Sure. Yeah. A local collector who had one of the most amazing Kobe Bryant collections I've seen. Many rare inserts, numbered refractors, and rookie cards. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's got young kids. He's selling his collection to help the kids and the family, and we're doing everything we can to help them out as much as possible, and really just help support his kids and wife, and him in his fight as he's still battling, still getting treatment. So just any Kobe Bryant card you would bid on in this auction is going to a great cause.
That's excellent.
That's great. That's
great that you're doing that.
That's what it's all about. Tell us about the 1921 Oxford Candy Babe Ruth.
Yeah, beautiful card. One I've never really seen before. There's not a whole lot out there. It's a caramel card from a caramel candy company from Oxford, Pennsylvania. So we're based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Oxford is not too far away, probably 30 minutes away from here, maybe less. And if you're going to find this card, it's probably going to be in this region. It's kind of like the mascot dog food cards that came out of the Philadelphia area. Mm-hmm. There's certain regional brands that are very, very rare. And if you are going to find them, it's probably going to be within our local region. And it's just an awesome card. It's graded and just displays so nicely,
What a beautiful, anything Ruth.
Yeah, of course.
When you talk about Ruth and anything, and to have something as rare as that, what a beautiful piece.
Yeah, that's why, a Ruth card, anything Ruth, you're saying, right.
Anything.
Doesn't lose legs. It never loses legs.
It never does.
What's interesting? You can go on eBay and type in Babe Ruth signed baseball, and there's 50 of them, but they all go for huge money.
Yeah, they do.
Huge money.
And he, so iconic.
Good.
Everybody can relate to Babe Ruth, even if you're not into baseball.
You have a 51 Bowman Mantle in the auction?
Yeah. 51 Bowman.
Is it graded?
51 Bowman, Willie Mays as well.
Are they both graded?
Both graded. Great eye appeal. The Mantle's graded a PSA 2, and eye appeal is better. I think there's a little bit of staining in the white that caused it to be a 2. And then the Maze is, I believe, a 5 off center.
So the Mantle, the 51 Mantle, in your estimation, and I'm not asking, I know it's a guess, but what do you think a card like that would go for?
Right now in this industry, it's such a rare card you don't see very much that we could give you an estimate and it could sell for twice as much.
Really?
The big collectors just want it, and they know 5-10 years from now it's just going to keep appreciating, as it has been most likely. And there's certain iconic cards that you just can't find. A lot of people, whether it's the 51 Bowman or the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, you just don't run into them much.
And the reason I'm asking is because I have a 51 Bowman Mantle, and it's a PSA 2. I bought it, I don't know, 5 years ago, and the thing has steadily increased in value every year. So it's a hell of an investment.
It's funny, though, because I know that you've talked about it before, Tom, is that the 51 Mantle is really Mickey's his rookie card. It's his rookie card.
Yep.
And it doesn't get the love of the 52 Mantle, high number, card 311, but yet, and you're so right about the eye appeal makes such a big difference.
Yeah, and it's his only, not only is it his rookie, but it's his only rookie. You know, there's no tops from 51, so it really truly is an amazing card. And same with the Willie Mays. I mean, that's his true rookie.
Yep.
We have about a minute left. Chuck, what else do you have? Anything else you want to highlight?
A lot of Ty Cobb tobacco cards. We have multiple redbacks, the greenback, the holding the bat, Lou Gehrig Day tickets. There's actually 2 of them in this auction. Multiple Babe Ruths. The sets and partial sets would be great for any kind of collector, so check them out. And, you know, one thing we're very proud of is we give back to the community a lot. I look back year to year, and we look at how much we help a lot of youth programs and organizations, and it just keeps increasing. So, you know, we really are blessed, I think, overall in being able to help support, you know, low-income daycare centers to provide education for families, for young kids, for different theater programs, for sports programs, and it's something that, you know, is a big part of what we do, and we want to continue to help out our local region, you know. That's
what it's all about. And your website address is?
We are www.wheatlandauctionservices.com. This auction will end this Sunday evening, start to close at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys mean a lot to us. You guys have been a great credit to the hobby, and good luck with the auction.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Chuck and all the best. Nice to meet you guys.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Before we talk about some of the great stuff that you have, I got to tell you a really quick, funny story. So, Celtics. I have my Celtics shirt on.
I saw it. I noticed it right away.
And Celtics are playing tonight.
Tomorrow.
Well, no, because we're
excuse me. That's
playing
right.
tonight.
They're playing tonight.
At 8:30. And I called a dear friend of mine. I don't know if you know Andy Montero. Now, Andy is a vice president of marketing for the Miami Heat. And he and I and Ellen are very dear friends. He is the number 2 on the set registry for Crackerjack cards. He's got an amazing Crackerjack collection, and he's got an amazing collection of Crackerjack memorabilia. Amazing stuff, like original boxes and things.
My gosh.
Really good stuff. So we've done a lot with him. He's been on the show a few times. I called him up. I says, Andy, I need a favor.
I know what it is.
I said, I need 2 tickets for the Celts game Wednesday night. I'll pay for them. I said, it's my grandson and my son-in-law, because it's my grandson's first communion.
Oh.
It'd be a great first communion present for him and his dad.
Really good.
He says, no problem. So I called him last week. He says, here's what I can do for you. I'll get you the tickets and we can waive all the fees, which is substantial.
Yeah.
You know, service fees. I said, great. Calls me yesterday. He says, hey, I'm going to give you a call. He calls me up. He says, okay, what game do you want them for? The 25th or the 27th? I said, Andy, the game is Wednesday. He says, no, Tom, the game is in Miami. I said, I need tickets for Boston. He says, I can't give you tickets for Boston. He says, because in the NBA now, they have a new agreement. Miami, they can't get tickets, and there's no reciprocal agreement. He says, I don't have access to tickets. I can give you beautiful seats in Miami. I said, are you kidding me?
Why don't you fly him down? That would be even better.
Well, that's what he said.
You know?
I said, ain't happening. Anyways, I was able, after I hung up, I was able to secure tickets through a friend that has a ticket agency in Boston. I was able to get the seats. But I almost fell off my chair when I've been working on it for 2 weeks, and he says, these tickets are in Miami, not Boston.
It'd be beautiful weather.
Forget it. Oh. All right, Paul, you've got, let's talk about PB Collectibles, number 1. You guys are located in Newport, Rhode Island. Tell us a little bit about the store, the neighborhood card shop.
Yes, and more. This card shop, I told you, we opened up in 2019, November of 2019. I've been doing this for about 50 years. And as I mentioned to you, as we look at all the different auction houses, I am always enamored with the gravity of the things that come in because you're always looking for good stuff.
Right.
So I just grabbed a couple things very quickly, but I think we talked about this one of the other times before. And this is a Sandy Koufax autograph ball, but not only the Sandy Koufax, but it has that inscription of the Hall of Fame on it. And, you know, it adds value to it. I just saw Koufax was doing a private signing. He's
Yeah,
in
I read
Los
that.
Angeles. I think he's like $1,000 for his signature for a private signing. But I love autograph material. It tends to sit a little bit longer than baseball cards. But what I like really about it is that I like Hall of Famers. And so we have a good collection there at PB Collectibles of autograph balls, probably over 300 baseballs.
Do you really?
Yeah. And we have a very small spot. But it works. We're right across from where JFK got married, so it's historic where he got married. And I brought in
Very
a couple
nice.
quick little things. I'll just show you real
Yeah,
quickly.
just-
And this came in the shop from
That
a
is
former
very
student,
cool.
and this
Very
is
cool.
a picture. This is a ticket to Yankee
You
Stadium.
can
from,
hold this up. You can hold it up. Yeah.
from Lou Gehrig. His inaugural first day. He had died the month before, so this is the day that they actually retired Lou Gehrig's number.
This is so
And
cool.
I just got it graded. I just got it back from PSA. It got a 4.
It's a full ticket. It got a PSA grade of 4. I think
It's super, super
really
clean.
is. This
It's so
is-
historic.
very cool piece.
You know, so just an oddball kind of item that just walked into the shop.
But you know something? An item like this is, if you're a Lou Gehrig collector, like this has to be in your.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
I had a dear friend that passed away from ALS. We did a bike ride, so you know it has a little bit of, you know, when you see it and you say Lou Gehrig, you know, we can certainly in Newport, those that knew my friend Dave Lees can certainly attest to this and its significance. So
Do you see a lot of modern stuff coming into the shop?
lots of people trying to get rid of modern stuff. And
Ah,
it's
they-
funny, yeah. It's funny you mention it because I have this other guy, his name's Greg, that works at the shop with me. And we've been spending the last week just recomping all our cards. And not for the better. They have been just...
Falling like a rock.
Oh, my gosh. I got boxes and boxes of Zion Williamson. What do you do with it? You thought it was the hottest thing. And Luka Doncic.
How about Ja Morant?
Oh, his stuff you might as well put in the dollar bin.
I mean, that's like ridiculous what's happened to that.
They're talking that he might get suspended for the year.
He should. He
It's
should.
crazy.
But you know, again, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but you just need to be careful if you're a collector. Nothing wrong with modern and ultra modern, but you got to diversify your portfolio. It's
definitely-
so important.
You definitely do. But you know what's somewhat sad about the hobby today is that when you see the kids coming in, and it's great, don't get me wrong, but people are buying for the money.
Yeah.
And they're not buying, like I can remember when I was a kid trading Mickey Mantles to fill sets. You know, like things don't happen
I
the way
agree.
they are anymore. You know, everything's got a dollar value up to it. And from that side of it, it's a little bit sad.
So let me ask you this, Paul. An 8-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid that comes in, is he thinking like that also?
I feel that he is. I really do. They
Wow.
bring their parents in. Well, what do you think it's going to be worth? They got their phones out. They're checking comps. You know, you hear them talking to their parents. Well, I think this is going to be worth this. They're not just buying it for the sake of opening a wax box. They're buying it because they think there's going to be something in it. And don't get me wrong. It's great, but it's also sad in a sense.
Well, you know, the way I look at it is, listen, I'm a collector, and I buy for the love of it, but I also buy for the investment, not investment part of it,
Sure.
but for the value of the card. But the love of the item takes precedent. You know what I mean?
There's no
It's
doubt.
like I bought the 51 Mantle several years ago because I've been my E90-2 Wagner.
Yeah,
I bought
oh.
that card because I love the card. Now, is it appreciated? Absolutely. But I can tell you, I have cards that have gone downhill too.
There's no question.
You know?
You're going to take some. You're going to get some bumps, but you're definitely going to get some.
Yeah,
the
you
other
just
way.
you,
for sure.
You definitely need to diversify the portfolio. All right, listen, Paul Borges is in the house. We are going to take a break. We come back. We got a lot to talk about, brother.
All right.
I want to talk about some of the more stuff you have, and I want to talk about the hobby. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back, and we are chatting with Paul Borges from PB Collectibles. I want to talk about third-party grading companies. They seem to be popping up all over the place.
You know, it's funny you mention that. I had a friend who actually started one called Diamond Authentic back in Rhode Island. But I find that now that PSA is caught up, SGC is pumping out cards in 2 weeks.
Right.
Beckett is doing a decent job. I don't think the third-party grader, I don't see a bright future for them.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing. I mean, you see them popping up. What is the lifespan of these companies going to be?
I can't see it because if you're putting them in for an investment, why would you go to a party that's not even recognized? I just don't see it being a real good value or a good business plan.
Take me through the process, Paul, from your perspective. Somebody brings in 20 sports cards, 30s, 40s, 50s, ungraded. You want them. How do you do it? Like using PSA as an example, what do you do? Send the cards in to PSA?
What I do is if we get a lot of raw cards like that.
Yeah.
And then what I try to, it's very difficult when you're buying raw cards to determine value. So what I try to do is I use VCP, I also use eBay comps, all different comps.
Sure.
And what I try to do is look at them as what I think that they'll grade at, and you try to put a percentage to that, and you buy the cards. And PSA's been really good about
The turnaround been
the
good?
turnaround is because there was a time I bought a huge collection, a big investment for the shop, a couple years ago. Every set from
And you waited,
53,
what, a year?
a year and a half.
Yeah.
And you're tying up your money, you know.
Yeah.
But you waited and waited and waited. Now I just sent out an order of about 100 cards to PSA, and I'm going to say probably a month and a half to 2 months. I had the cards back. And you want, let's be honest, you want them graded by PSA.
Absolutely.
PSA is the king. I
Listen,
mean,
from an investment standpoint, you're crazy if you don't.
But
that's,
the third-party graders, to your point, I just don't see it as being a good business plan now because of the turnaround times with the big three. I mean, really, I say the big one is PSA because they're, you know, when you look at what they probably grade 1 million cards a month compared to SGC is second at 70,000. There's one, and two's,
right.
you know, and two's good, but they're not the one.
There was one other question I wanted to ask before we get into pre-war. Pre-war stuff is still pretty hot.
Pre-war stuff is really hot. I mean, in my little tiny shop, the little amount of pre-war that you get, it's automatically gone. I have a couple of customers that just tell me all the time, hey, if you get some pre-war, I just make a phone call to a few people or send out a couple texts or email, what have you. It's gone. As soon as you get it, it will not stay. I do have about, I was hoping to have it for the show here, but I've got about 60 T206s that are going to be coming in, all graded. They're lower grade, but the greenback cob is there.
Again, you know, the lower grade cards, if I was a dealer, I mean, it's the 80-20 rule. You know, 80% of the people that are going to buy your product can't afford to spend $500,000 on a card.
Totally. Especially for me, a little guy. But I've got people that will buy those cards. So I know pretty much, or feel very good about, that those 60 cards will be gone within 2 to 3 weeks.
Excellent. What else do you have? There's a few other items.
I just brought a couple things I just grabbed real quick. One of my favorite players who definitely should be in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. Yeah,
rookie card, high number. These are good grades, 7 and a 5. Very desirable card, high number in 63.
I think he's going to get in eventually. But
do you think he gets in before he dies?
I hope that. Maybe that's probably why he's not going to get in. I mean, he'll get in, but not before
his own worst enemy, though. No doubt. Without question. You know, if he had, well, there's a lot of things he could have done.
Yeah.
Another card that's so hot. You cannot keep these.
The Nolan Ryan.
The Nolan Ryan rookie is one of the hottest cards on them, I think, for the 60s.
Yeah.
This is a PSA 6.
Yeah, that's a nice card.
A beautiful card. Nicely centered, presents really well. And you can't keep them.
Yeah.
Those sell better than Tom Seaver or any, I think any 60s card. This is one of the hottest cards, I believe. And then I'm not a big hockey guy. I do have a tendency to get hockey. This is a great one, Wayne Gretzky. Both 7 and 6s. And those are good cards. I mean, people tend to ask, I don't get a lot of hockey, but the hockey I get, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I want the Gretzkys of the world.
Do you get much in the way of Wagner cards?
Again.
And obviously, I'm talking...
Pre-war stuff, I don't get a ton of it.
Yeah.
I have in my own collection, my own personal collection, I have the Gaudis, the 33s, and to be honest with you, my kids aren't interested in it. I have 2 children, grown children. One works for the Knicks, I think I mentioned to you, and my daughter's a school teacher out in Colorado. They're big sports people, but they have no... So I'm going to keep like 1 or 2 cards, and the rest are going to go away. Eventually. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do with it? And
Absolutely.
then, God forbid, something happens to me, they're going to say, well, what do we do with this stuff?
Yeah.
And sell it for pennies on the dollar. So I'll just keep it like it's like the Corvette in the garage that comes out on Sundays, you know? That will be about it.
We are chatting with Paul Borges from PB Collectibles. Some of the other items.
Some things that just came in at the Altman show recently were some, I say high-end, higher-end, mid-grade to above mantles. Here's a 66 mantle and a 6. You know, very desirable, nice cards. I've got a 64, 5 and 6s. I had a 57 that sold at Altman. Here's a 60 Mantle, a 68 Mantle in a 7. Mantle's the king of the hobby. He's the face.
We had a conversation last week on the show about the Mantle card 57, not the 57, the Mantle cards in general. I don't know if you heard the conversation, but I'm going to ask you this question. If Mickey Mantle had played for the St. Louis Cardinals and Stan Musial had played for the New York Yankees,
What a difference it'd be.
what would the Mantle card be worth versus the Musial card?
I think, honestly, like the name Mickey Mantle, how iconic. The name, 500 home run
But you
hitter.
don't think that him playing in that market has a lot to do with it, in the New York market, as opposed to playing for the Cleveland Indians?
Baseball, I feel like of all the sports, baseball is about history, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you look at the history, the iconic Babe Ruth, really, catapulted everything
Absolutely.
to another degree. And then, all their championships in New York, the pinstripes, the fabulous players that came up, and this kid named Mickey Mantle. I love the story about his dad. Said, when he was crying that, it wasn't working out, and he said, pack your bags, we're leaving.
Yep.
And what a career. I had the pleasure of meeting Mickey Mantle a couple of times, just for a few minutes. But he was very gracious, very nice.
Do you know Steve Lane?
I know of him.
Steve has the most incredible Mantle.
I bought his book.
Oh, did you? Yeah, Steve's got the most incredible Mantle collection.
Yeah.
I just shake my head.
Yeah.
He just has some. He's got the very first Mickey Mantle signed baseball in existence. Mickey signed it, I think, when he was 16 or 17 years old. When he
Fabulous.
did just unbelievable.
It's just like, I think what really enamored me to the card business, in the cards in general when I was a kid, is just the history of it, and to hold something, an autograph that one of your favorite players actually touched and signed.
That's why,
the excitement of it is.
And I agree with you. That's why I've started to gravitate a little bit towards memorabilia.
Yeah, you were saying.
Because I like the fact that, Christy Mathewson signed
you were
this.
saying how unbelievable.
Or Walter Johnson signed this. Or Rogers Hornsby. His DNA is on this baseball. You know what I mean?
I started, now that school is out, I started playing baseball by Ken Burns in the shop, as people were coming in.
Great documentary.
Oh, and I could watch it over and over
So
again.
you run it in the shop?
I run it in the shop.
What a great idea.
And people really gravitate. It's so iconic that it's just the best, so well done. And like I said, it's the history of baseball just played out over 9 innings.
Speaking of which, you're going to be, this coming weekend, you're going to be at Fenway Park.
I can't wait. I was there last night for the Red Sox. Got crushed.
I saw those seats.
Yep. We were in the front row of Fenway. But a bad outing. You know what's funny, though, about the Red Sox, I will say, and I was saying this to another buddy of mine last night, I don't know 80% of the players.
Really?
Anymore.
I tell you what, I know that they're up and down, but I'm enjoying this team. They have to weed out. They've got to weed out some
They definitely
some
do.
deadwood.
Yeah.
The Kiki Hernandez experiment
Awful.
just hasn't worked.
And why didn't not to go on about the Red Sox, but why didn't they sign Bogarts? I just don't understand it. One of the nicest guys in baseball.
It's a head
they
scratcher.
signed.
Head scratcher. Because I'll tell you what, I like this kid Alvarez at second base.
Yep.
So I think between
Reyes was at short last.
Yeah, between who was Arroyo? The new kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the Kiki Hernandez, Arroyo Hernandez duo, it's just not working.
You know what's funny? We were watching the game the other night, the Sunday night game, and I don't get the idea of interviewing players while they're playing.
Did you
Kids
see-
at first base, and they're interviewing them.
I know that. I
It's
couldn't
a live
believe it.
game.
I know that.
How is that possible?
It's
I just
very
don't get it.
distracting to the team. But
That's a bad idea.
yeah. Some of the other items. Any other things?
I think I brought in just a couple. This is the iconic Mickey Mantle. This is an SGC
Which one is that?
This is the 53. But, I know it's a lower grade, but I've gotten a lot of these in the shop. 53s, all seem to be lower grade. I've had PSA as up to PSA 4s. But just his second
great
year,
card.
it's still a really cool, desirable card. And then, I don't know if you saw the latest documentary on
No,
Reggie.
but
here's a Reggie Jackson.
Has that,
PSA 6.
because of that documentary, has his card spiked?
I don't see a huge spike in him, but what I will say is that here's a guy, okay, Mr. October, I mean, right? Now, the way the games go, it's into Mr. November. Who's going to be Mr. November? But I just find that 500 home run hitter, but I met him a couple times in the times I had with him. He wasn't the most personal. I'm really looking forward to this weekend, though, at Fenway.
You know, Rico, Christy, I don't know if you know this, but Rico is signing, I think, on Sunday. And I think they have him in between Poppy and Pedro.
Oh, jeez.
I think. So that'll be good. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go this weekend, but that is going to be one great card show. I think that this card show is just going to explode. It's going to.
Again, the history of Fenway Park.
Well, you know what they did though, Chris. I'll tell you, Chris Costa last week when he was on
did a great job, by the way.
He did, and talk about an ingenious piece of marketing. So when you walk in, you're going to walk to your right, and in the concourse, that's where the show is. But to get to the other side of the show, you have to walk through a door onto the warning track.
I can't wait.
Onto the warning track of Fenway Park, so everybody's going to be able to walk on the warning track through the other door. So when you walk onto that warning track, just face the ballpark for a brief minute, so you can see. Fenway is just a magical place.
Last night before the game started, we walked into the bleacher bar. Have you ever been?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I just wanted to stare out at the ballpark. So iconic. You think of all the legends.
I've seen some memorable games there.
Yeah, I bet you have.
And I can tell you, the first game I remember was my dad taking my brother and I, 1959, to see Ted Williams.
Oh, wow.
And that was I remember that. I remember seeing Ted Williams. But then I went to a lot of playoff games. I was there in 86, the World Series, and 75. There was some good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Are we ready for a break? No? Okay, we're good. There was one other we're talking about Hall of Famers. And I'm going to make a point. I would like people to write into the Hall of Fame. Jake Daubert. Jake Daubert is one of my favorite players from the T206 collection. This is a guy that has been given consideration to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not. But if you look at his numbers compared to some of the other guys that are in the Hall of Fame, I am a big Jake Daubert advocate. He was considered to be the best fielding first baseman of the dead ball era. The guy had won 2 batting titles and had a .303 lifetime batting average, 2,326 hits, and led the league in fielding percentage on 3 different occasions over his 15-year career. Compared to the first baseman currently in the Hall, Daubert has a higher lifetime batting average than 10 of them, had a higher OBP than 5, and banged out more hits than 12 of them. So if you compare his overall stats with the likes of Frank Chance, Gil Hodges, taking the power numbers and putting them aside because he played in the dead ball era, George Kelly and Ben Taylor, there is certainly an argument for Jake Daubert to be in Cooperstown Hall of Fame. I'm asking our viewers, do a little research on him, write into the Hall of Fame, because there's a guy that definitely, in my opinion, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame, just really quickly, what do you think of the last few candidates that have gotten into the Hall of Fame?
I think they're watering it down.
Do you feel like it has lost its luster a little bit?
Absolutely. I don't know what the issue is, but I do feel that it's the inductees are watering it down. There are some players that I don't think deserve to be in there. I'm not going to mention names.
No, of course.
But there are players that I think are really on the bubble.
And the other thing I want to ask you is this about the Hall of Fame. How is it that some of these guys do not get all the votes? They're clear-cut Hall of Famers.
You know what I think that has to do with, Paul? I think that has to do with personality conflicts with writers.
Yeah.
There are certain writers that may have had a bad experience interviewing a player or don't like a player's personal life, and that's their way of making a statement. I think it's unconscionable. Who's the guy? You may remember this. Who's Egan, the guy that had it out for Ted Williams? I can't remember his first name. His last, Dave Egan, I think his name was. He crucified Ted Williams for years. I don't know the answer, but I think there are writers that just have it out for players and won't vote for them.
Yeah.
You know who's notorious, and I don't like the guy. You may like him, Shag Shaughnessy. What's his name? Dan Shaughnessy is just.
Yeah.
They call him Shank, not Shag, but Dan Shaughnessy is very biased as to who he votes for and how he votes. So, again, I do have mixed feelings about it. What's in the box over there?
This is just I just emptied it out
okay.
from here, but just.
Do you do much with pre-1900 cards, like?
Very little. I mean, like I
Old
said,
Judge,
anything,
yeah.
Very, very, very infrequent that I get that. I have gotten some pre-war, like I said, and that sells very, very quickly.
I want to ask you some pointed questions, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
I ask this question all the time. This whole thing about fractional buying, you think it's going down the tubes?
Yeah, I do. Do you? I feel like, I talked to a couple of investors that come into the shop and about the fractional side of things. And I don't know, there's so many things that you can invest your money in, and I don't think that's one of them.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you. It seems as though a lot of what's happened over the last couple of years, these creative marketing things seem to be petering out, some of them. I mean, the break openings are huge. Our friend Charlie Perino from JRI Cards, Leighton, I think they're the pioneers. They're doing a great job. But there are some other things that I think are really, really kind of dissipating as far as the market goes. When it all comes down to brass tacks, what do? You buy the card, you sell the card, you buy the piece of memorabilia, and you sell the piece of memorabilia, and you should do it for the love of the game. What's your favorite personal piece?
My favorite personal is the 33 Ruths.
That you own?
Yeah. Those are, and 52 Mays. Those are kind of my favorites. I've got the 51 Bowman, but now that in the last year, I've been very fortunate. I've had 5 51 Bowmans come into the shop, which for a little tiny shop is pretty cool.
So every once in a while, if something comes in, you'll buy it and keep it for yourself.
Not as much anymore, to be honest with you. I'm more about, I just move it. Because now I find, Tom, that today that if I really wanted it, I'll just go buy it. So I try to move it. And, if I really, really want it, I'm going to buy it.
All right, listen, Paul's in the house. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services, a very important part of this show. If you don't have insurance, get out of the hobby.
No question.
Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden Auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back, and on with us right now is a really great sponsor of the show. They've been with us a long time. You know, we've been approached by other insurance companies, and we say thanks, but no thanks.
Like the loyalty.
Well, no, these, you know, something. Our viewers and our listeners, a lot of them use them, and they like them. They're, you know, I use them. They've never done me any harm, and they're at the National usually, and. Good company. So on with us is Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services. Mr. Brodwater, how are you?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good, how are you?
You know, Bob, you've been on the stage with us at the... Are you guys going to be at the National this year?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a big part of your business. You know, we're always hopping, and I know, Paul, I mean, there are a lot of collectors out there that do not have insurance.
Oh, there's tons of them.
It's a head scratcher. I have friends that have substantial collections.
I can imagine.
And
they don't think they put it on their homeowners. Am I right? Is that what most
how does
people
that
do?
work?
Is add it to their homeowners?
Typically, in certain cases they can, but typically they're unable to. Most homeowners companies don't have an appetite for some of those specialty type risks. And often, almost always, it's not going to be covered to the full market value.
Do you think that it's more of an educational thing where people don't realize that you can't just add this to your home? Am I correct?
I think they do. I think more often than not, there's an assumption that just like personal property, like furniture, is just included. But these types of things are often excluded. And if they are, they sometimes have to be scheduled, which is... It could cost additional and be more limiting in coverage.
I have one question for you that I always wondered about was, Bob, from a standpoint of insuring stuff when you're going to big shows across the country, How is that handled when the stuff is traveling back and forth to different shows, as far as from an insurance standpoint?
So that type of thing is really what we specialize in. We've Collectibles Insurance Services was founded by collectors for collectors. So that means we understand the unique risk beyond just the typical home risk of fire, water, theft. But our product extends the insurance to the shipping and transit exposures. So, that's when most feel they're at greatest risk when they're on the road attending a show or sending things out that were bought.
And it's funny because I always hear that from different dealers that they'll say, "Oh, I'm never going to ship. I'm not going to do this." They're dry, and I feel like they're not educated in it.
Absolutely, no, you're dead on. Bob, you don't just insure baseball cards or sports memorabilia. Why don't you tell our audience it's collectibles? What are some of the other items that you folks insure?
Yeah, so we've been in business 50 years and was originally founded by a stamp collector who saw that gap in the marketplace, and he was a stamp dealer and started out as a company specialized in the stamp space. And then it evolved into all types of collectibles, art, antiques, sports memorabilia, trading cards, comic books are another growing segment. We see a lot of increased valuations. We do antique firearm property. So really anything other than collector cars, we really target all those passion hobbyists.
And what about deductibles?
Our base product starts with a $50 deductible.
Wow.
And for a dealer, it's a $500 deductible.
Now, do you, my collection, do you need to touch it to see it yourself, or how does that work? I have, let's say that I have, I don't know, a $50,000 collection that I want to get insured. Do I need to log everything in, send you a spreadsheet? How does that typically work, Bob?
Great question.
So, a great question. So the way our product works is it's market value and what we call blanket coverage for any items under $25,000. So no, if all those items in the collection under $25,000 of individual value, we don't require them to be scheduled. For items worth more than that, we do capture a description of the item and the approximate market value. And as far as evidence of ownership, many folks don't have transactional records. Still, if they do, great. That's not a requirement, nor is an appraisal. What we ask is pictures of the collection and that the...
I have a follow-up.
Yeah, the pictures of the collection. Often we ask the customers to maintain a list of what they have. Will certainly help in any claim settlement process should there be a loss.
See, I just learned something because I have a couple of pieces that are worth more than $25,000. My insurance is with you guys. I don't think I've ever brought that to your attention. So I need to obviously bring it to your attention, number one. And do you need a photo, an image of that item?
If you can send us a photo with a description of that item and the approximate market value, we're always happy to add it to your policy schedule.
Ellen, if you're watching, you get on that, please. Totally spaced on that.
That always goes to Ellen, huh?
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Bob. She's going to shoot me. There was another question. Inflation coverage. Talk about that.
Yes, we offer it as an optional add-on. Really what it does is it increases the limit of your policy 1% a month continuously to really keep up with that. We saw tremendous growth a couple of years ago, and that helped. Certainly one of the things we ask at renewal, revisit your limit, take a look at your collection, make sure those align to ensure you're appropriately covered. But we do also have the inflation that should your collection not be changing as much, the limit moves 1% a month.
Bob, do you do insurance for companies? Like, in other words, a memorabilia company, for instance. Do you guys get into that territory?
We will. We'll insure companies up to a certain size. We'll insure their inventory, their shipping and transit needs.
Very cool.
It really is. I just find it something that I think many people out there that I know of just need to be educated on the process. And
I don't
what it
think
includes. I just don't
out
think
of
they
sight,
really
out of
understand.
mind. A lot of people just don't think to
not.
There's this one. He's like my son. He's got a $150,000 collection, and Joe. You got to get the stuff insured. I know.
Crazy not to.
I just.
And is it really an easy process? Well,
it is. A collector can go online, collectinsure.com, or just Google Collectibles Insurance Services, and get a quote. And if a collection's under $50,000 in value, many of the edits are right online, and they can purchase the policy right away if they choose. Or above $50,000, an underwriter will reach out and talk with them.
Gotcha.
But it's a simple process, and it really it's an education message. Our standalone coverage is often more affordable and offers better coverage than a typical homeowner's policy for the standalone collection.
Hey, Bob, before we let you go, are you a collector?
Yeah, I am. I collect model airplanes.
Do you really?
Really?
Very cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of aviation history buff.
You know, when I was a kid, man, my father used to buy me one of those a week. The Revell model airplanes.
That's right.
Right. Those are awesome. Then you know what else I was a big collector of, and I still have them? Remember the Monsters, Frankenstein?
Yeah.
The Revell? I have all of that stuff still.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, Bob, your website address is?
It's collectinsure.com.
Great. Thank you so much for the support. Folks, we don't have to say it. Collectibles Insurance Services, get your collection insured. Thanks, Bob. We'll see you down the road.
Take care,
Thanks,
Bob.
guys.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, Bob Brodwater from Collectibles Insurance Services. We got a couple of minutes, Paul. Thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate it. We love having you.
Thanks for having me.
You've been a big supporter of the show, and I'm hoping that you have a great experience at Fenway Park.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Just to be in Fenway Park, set up at a card show, walking around the Green Monster for a little bit. It's already worth it.
No,
and
that's why I think it's going to really, really attract a big crowd, because just to be there.
I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Rico. I'll make sure to go over to see.
Rico, I see him all
make
the
sure
time.
I see Rico.
Tell Rico I
and
said
you know who
hi.
else I'm actually looking forward to seeing? Actually, is Jose Canseco.
Oh yeah, he'll be there.
Jose.
Hey, how much time do we have? About a minute left. Just real quickly. So this. Everybody's talking about this artificial intelligence, right? So I guess I just read an article today that they threw out some info through the artificial intelligence, and they came out with the 5 greatest catches of all time, based on everything.
So
everything that they
is
threw in.
Mays one?
No catches.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but they had Fisk number 4 of all time.
Really? How did the order go?
Order went Bench,
Yeah.
Berra, Campanella, Fisk, and the other guy I don't agree with at all.
Manny Sanguian? No.
Gary Carter.
Really?
They had him number 5.
Did they
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, they had him number 5.
Would you say that?
Oh no, I take that back. They had him 6th. They had the kid Rodriguez, Ivan.
Yep.
They had
Very
him
good.
5, and then they had Gary Carter. They had 6.
Would you say that, speaking of catchers, is Thurman Munson a Hall of Fame?
I think he is. I've always kind of busted chops with the Yankee fans that he's not, but he definitely deserves to be in there. He played long enough so that he does deserve. And I think Don Mattingly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah, Donnie Baseball.
All right, with that being said, Paul, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
by.
having
man. We
me.
love
This is
having
awesome.
you.
Thank
To our
you.
viewers and listeners, if you can get up to Fenway Park this coming weekend,
Yes.
check it out, the Fenway Card Show. With that being said, next week who's my Joe Orlando is going to be co-hosting with me next week.
Awesome.
Because Rico is not going to be here, and neither is Mallory. Then after that, we're back in the regular rotation. With that being said, happy collecting.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.